In this next part of our video tutorial on a top-down shooter, we're going to add an enemy. So we'll create a new sprite. I'm going to call him a follower because that's what it's going to do. Give it a good design. I'm just going with a plain red square. And we want this follower to constantly track our player around the level. Wherever it goes, the follower goes to. I'm going to resize it to be the same size as our player by copy and pasting the player character size onto the follower's size. Place him a reasonable distance away for testing. And give it some behaviours. So first of all, we want to make sure it stays inside the level, so we'll add the bound to layout behaviour. And we're going to use the bullet behaviour to make sure it follows our player and moves constantly across the map. Now, as it is, the bullet behaviour is just going to shoot it off in a random direction, or the direction that it's facing already. We want to make sure it's always tracking our player. So we're going to add some stuff to our event sheet here that makes sure that happens. So on our follower, we're going to say when it's created, set the angle of motion towards a position, and that position is going to be the player's coordinates. So it's going to be player.x and player.y. That gives you the player's x position and the player's y position. Be careful when it auto fills in code for you here. Player.x and player.y. Now when it starts, it should just aim towards the player and head straight for us. Not exactly what we're after, but it's a good start. We need to make sure it's constantly updating its angle to be matching where the player is. And the only reason that would change is if the player is moving. So we're going to check if the player is moving and then copy and paste our set angle into this event. So now if the player moves, the follower moves, but whoa, that's way too fast. So we're going to adjust the speed of our follower as well. Let's put it nice and low so we've got a good chance. Follower is following us as he was born to do. Fantastic. In the next section we're going to add a way to defend ourselves, but seeing as this is going to be quite a big and complicated game, it's worth tidying up and organising our event sheet. We're going to have lots of different sections to this game, so let's start using groups. So we're going to add a new group called player controls, highlight all the events that relate to our player controls and drop it into this group. Now we can hide it if we're not using it. It's a neat way to keep things organised. And we're going to make another group called follower behaviour, and this is going to be everything that controls how the follower behaves in our game. So we'll add our two events that we've just created into this one. Player controls, follower behaviour, and you can hide them and show them as you like. Let's add another event to our follower behaviour, and we want to make sure that if the follower catches up to the player, that the player is destroyed. The follower is not our friend. So on collision with the player, we want to destroy the player. Now just destroying the player is not enough, we need that to restart the level for us so that we know that something's happened. And that's not really player controls, that's more behaviour of the player. So I'm going to make a third group here called player behaviour. This is anything that happens to our player that we're not directly controlling. So we're going to say if our player is destroyed, restart the layout. And we'll drop that into player behaviour. Fantastic. We've got some nice organised groups on our event sheet. It's going to make things easier going forward. In the next section we'll figure out a way to defend ourselves from this threat.